Murder or suicide? The case of Michelle Castillo. Join us on an exclusive investigation into the death of a mother of 5, found dead in the basement of a wealthy businessman's opulent mansion in Virginia, who was also a wounded veteran. Despite the initial appearance of suicide, our findings have uncovered suspicious elements that suggest something else more sinister. Don't be fooled by the picture-perfect facade of this family's colonial home. Follow us as we uncover the truth behind this tragedy. Braulio and Michelle Castillo had a prosperous information technology business and successfully raised 5 children, 2 adopted and 3 biologicals. Despite their outward success, their oldest son Nick reveals that their marriage was struggling behind closed doors. Their story highlights the fact that material wealth cannot guarantee happiness. In April 2013, Michelle Castillo filed for divorce from her husband Braulio and obtained a protective order against him. The divorce papers contained allegations of verbal and emotional abuse, including lock her in a closet and demanding sex. Michelle confided in friends that she feared for her life. Braulio wasted no time in moving on, dating someone else and settling down nearby. Michelle focused on healing and rebuilding her self-esteem while maintaining a strong bond with her children. However, tragedy struck when Michelle was found dead in the basement of her luxurious mansion, leaving many questions unanswered about what led her to take her own life. Michelle and Braulio met on March 19, 2014 to finalize their divorce. Michelle sought significant child support while Braulio's attorney aimed to negotiate the withdrawal of the protective order against them. Unfortunately, Michelle refused, believing Braulio posed a danger to her and their children. Later that day, after picking up her children from Braulio, Michelle secured her home security system and went to bed. The next morning, her children found her missing and contacted their father. Due to the restraining order, Braulio was unable to enter the house and sought a neighbor to help search for Michelle. When they couldn't locate her, the neighbor contacted the police. Tragically, Michelle was discovered hanging from a shower head in the basement bathroom with an electrical cord tightly wrapped around her neck. The eldest son, Nick, who was away at college, received the news of his mother's disappearance and was later informed of the heartbreaking discovery. At first glance, it appeared to be a suicide. There's a woman hanging from a shower, says Detective McCaffrey, the lead investigator in the case. However, there are peculiar details about the incident that suggest something more sinister than a mere suicide. The ligature was pulled around and on top of the hair and been pulled up, McCaffrey reveals. It's painful to begin with. People don't do that, and I've had lots of suicides. I've never seen anything like it. The circumstances of Michelle's death seem staged, as if someone had gone to the great lengths to make it appear like it was a suicide. The investigators were perplexed about who could have been behind the staging. The house was locked all night and the security alarm was set, and Michelle had taken every precaution to ensure that her estranged husband did not have the code. It looked very surreal, says Deputy Commonwealth Attorney Nicole Whitman. It looked like something you would expect to see at some haunted house or something. The investigators' doubts only intensified, and they were left with the daunting task of piecing together the events leading up to Michelle's death. The death of Michelle Castillo, a 43-year-old mother of 5, was initially believed to be a suicide. However, a surveillance camera captured a man entering her house on the night of the incident, leading the investigators to suspect foul play. Detective McCaffrey focuses on Michelle's estranged husband Braulio, who has a black eye and scratches on his face. Further investigation reveals injuries to Michelle's face and neck, indicating a possible attack before she was hanged. Prosecutor Whitman dismisses the suicide story, citing Michelle's devotion for her children. As forensic evidence supports the theory of murder, the case takes a critical turn. Detective McCaffrey discovers peculiar evidence in Michelle Castillo's death investigation. The shower stall had no fingerprints and her clothes had patterned blood stains. Her bed was made differently than usual and one of her children had noticed it. Blood was also found in a pillowcase. Detective McCaffrey faces challenges in investigating Michelle Castillo's death. It takes 2 weeks to confirm whose blood was at the crime scene. Despite a lack of evidence, he reviews surveillance footage and sees no indication of an intruder when Michelle arrived home. The detective is perplexed by the mystery of the crime. Detective McCaffrey was able to make headway in the case when he received crucial information from an unexpected source: pillow talk. Conversation with his wife sparked a new theory, which McCaffrey reviewed in the footage. He noticed a figure resembling Braulio running down the street and entering the Castillo home at 8:09 p.m. before Michelle and her children returned. Michelle and her children arrived at 8:19 p.m. and a figure was seen leaving the house at 12:31 a.m. Braulio soon became the primary suspect in Michelle's murder, which had been initially considered a suicide. However, forensic evidence uncovered patterned blood and spots in Michelle's clothing, indicating foul play. As DNA tests were conducted, the investigation suffered a devastating setback that could have ruined the entire case. Despite the circumstantial nature of the evidence, the investigation persisted as detectives worked tirelessly to uncover the truth behind Michelle's death. The news was tightening around Braulio, but investigators needed more to prove the case. They continued to search for evidence to link Braulio to the crime and reveal the truth behind Michelle's tragic demise. The investigation into the murder of Michelle Castillo has taken a new turn, as investigators enlisted the help of cadaver dogs to assist in locating the victim's body. To their surprise, the dogs immediately alerted in the basement shower where Michelle was discovered hanging, 17 days after her death. Despite the fact that the house had been cleaned for Braulio Castillo's family, dogs also alerted at the foot of Michelle's bed. Through DNA testing, investigators were finally able to confirm the identity of the suspect. Braulio Castillo's blood was found on Michelle's sweatshirt and one of the sheets on her bed, leaving no doubt as to his involvement in the crime. The detectives swiftly apprehended Braulio at a nearby coffee shop where he was found relaxing. The defendant's blood on Michelle Castillo's sweatshirt is in multiple locations, as well as on one of the sheets in her bed, said Nicole Whitman. Confirmed our suspicions that Braulio Castillo was responsible for this heinous act. The arrest marks a major breakthrough in the case, but questions remain about how and why this seemingly happy family was torn apart by violence. The upcoming trial of Braulio Castillo, accused of murdering his wife Michelle, is shrouded in uncertainty and tension. The lead detective McCaffrey is unexpectedly fired by the county sheriff, leaving the prosecution vulnerable to defense potential arguments that the evidence may be invalid due to the detective's termination. Nicole Whitman, one of the prosecutors, expresses her concern that the defense may use this to undermine their case. The dismissal of the lead detective adds an unforeseen layer of drama to an already complex case. Compounding the situation, Nicholas Castillo, Braulio's son, faces a difficult moral dilemma as he must testify against his own father. Nicholas describes the emotional turmoil he faces in grappling with the fact that his father may be responsible for Michelle's death. Psychological burden on Nicholas highlights the gravity of the case and the emotional complexity of the trial. According to Detective McCaffrey, Braulio Castillo ambushed his wife, Michelle, after she put their children to bed. Forensic experts testified that Michelle was attacked quickly and rendered unconscious within moments. Prosecutor Alejandra Reda stated that they believe Braulio disabled Michelle very quickly. During the trial, the Castillo's 9-year-old son providing a heart-wrenching testimony via closed-circuit television. He stated that he had left his security blanket in his mother's room on the night of her death, and his father appeared and brought him his little lovely blanket without saying anything. When asked how he knew it was his dad, he replied, "Because I saw his face." This emotional testimony adds to the complexity of the case and highlights the impact of Michelle Castillo's murder on her family. Braulio Castillo's own son provided the final damning evidence against his father, admitting that he was forced to give the passcode to enter the house on the night of the murder. After a day of deliberations, the jury found Braulio Castillo guilty of first-degree murder and sentenced him to life in prison without parole, plus 16 years. The verdict left behind a shattered family struggling to heal, with the eldest son still grappling with the loss of his mother and the betrayal of his father. Braulio Castillo maintains his innocence, and his children are suing him for the wrongful death. Despite the tragedy, the 4 youngest children are reportedly thriving in their new home. Michelle Castillo's family seeks healing as they move forward after her murder, with the murderer held accountable through law enforcement efforts.